welcome back to the channel, and yes, we're looking again at Assetto Corsa Competizione on the console, and there's a heck of a lot in store within this episode. So first of all, we'll take a look at choosing lobbies, and usually when you first come to the game you're just going to get stuck with a quick join lobby. So spend some time farming these lobbies, do as many races as you can, trying to build up that safety rating, and that's going to change everything for you when you start doing more online racing. So as soon as you've got those 40 points, you're going to want to go to the multiplayer section and start looking at choosing which lobbies you want to race in. You might have spent hours doing a setup and you just want to race at a specific circuit. So looking down the left hand side of the column, you'll see highlighted in white what sort of stage the race is in, whether it's still in qualifying, how many minutes are left in that qualifying session, or whether it's gone to the race, or you might not meet the requirements as to how many stars you need to actually take part in the process. You might also find that there's already too many players in the lobby, but from here you can actually start to pick and choose which multiplayer races you take part in and which lobbies you want to race in. You might just want to focus on one particular circuit, or you might want to focus just racing in the rain or something, but there's hundreds of lobbies to choose from. Obviously you want to choose one that's already populated with as many players as you can, but it's just as easy as that. So as you come to see the race, you can see there's only 1 minute left in the qualifying. Have a quick look at the timetables, see if you could manage with where you get positioned on the grid, and there you go. Let's move on to the next thing to look at. Multiplayer replays. I didn't even think these things existed, but if you pull over at the end of the race, somewhere at the side of the track, because some people might still be racing, and click the replay option, you can see down the bottom, if we just highlight the highlights section, and you can just save it. It's as simple as that. For a 20-minute race you get about 11 minutes of highlights. 10-minute race is probably about 7 minutes worth of highlights, and you just choose this in the main menu under the gallery section, and you can just click the highlights. I think you can save about 11 to 14 or something like that. I don't think it'll save very many more than that, and there you go, just straight into it. It is a bit awkward that you can't actually pick and choose what the highlights of the race are. I've had one point where something was really going to kick off during the highlights, and it just cuts away to something completely different. So yeah, it's quite interesting, but I didn't even think online multiplayer replays was an option within this game. So it's nice to see that you can just at least click and see some of the highlights from the race, and it's nice to see you can actually see some of the other things that were happening within the race away from your own particular race. So I think that is quite a nice little touch, and obviously if they ever actually get it developed with 60 frames per second, it could look pretty nice. Let's move on to starting the race. Use your time wisely. Looking at a 10-minute race, you're going to use about 20 litres of fuel. So at the start of the race you get a few minutes to look over things. A 20-minute race, obviously we're going to add another 20 litres of fuel in, but spend a little bit of time here getting things right in your mind before that race starts. Look over your setup, make sure there's anything in there that you think you might want to change from the previous qualifying session. You might want to just add a tiny bit of camber. As you can see here, I was just adjusting the fuel, trying to eke out every last drop of fuel. And then when we come back to the grid, another thing that I like to do is check my pit strategy. So pressing that F2 button a couple of times brings you through to the pit strategy menu. So from here you want to make sure that you aren't going to do changing tyres or something. If you're going into the pits, it's probably going to be for damage in a 10-minute race. You don't want to be changing the brake discs either. All you're wanting to do when you get in that pit is do whatever damage is needed. So from this stage, it's all about just getting your position on the grid, this rolling grid, and just pay attention to the box in the middle of the screen. Forget about every other driver on the grid totally, and all you're focused on is staying in that green box, whether you're on the right side of the grid or whether you need to move across. All you need to be positioning yourself is within that green section. Then you want to just be staying under 37 miles per hour. But yeah, obviously in the green section where you can, and then that's you away and you're off. So yeah, just forget about all the other cars on the grid at this starting phase, whether someone's catching up with you. There's no collisions at all, so you can run through people. The same goes for pit stops. Just position yourself where you need to get to your box. Then moving on to racing liveries, let's have a look at these. So if you're wanting to use your own livery within a race, choose the car that you're going to be doing or that you're wanting to use and go up to the add section. From here, you're going to want to put, say, a new number on your car. For me, I always choose my birthday for some reason. So number 13 is my lucky number, I suppose. A lot of people think it's unlucky, but it's my lucky number. And then you want to choose whatever you want to call your racing team. I thought I'd just go for Rapmaster Racing. So from here, it's a little bit strange within this one, and it's something that I'll look over towards the end of the video with a few faults that I seem to be finding. So within this section, I'd also go down to my nationality and change it. But if you start changing any of the other sections near the design, sponsors, the colour of the car, it just doesn't make any difference at this stage until you go down to the save menu. So as you can see here, I'm trying to make adjustments to the car, and you really can't see anything happening whatsoever. You can make as many adjustments as you want and nothing happens until you click the save button. So in my opinion, it would be best off just naming the car whatever you want to call it, or whatever number you want to put on it, and then just going to the save button and just clicking on that first. As soon as you've done that, you can go back to it, reselect it, and then go into the edit menu. So from here, this is where you want to be changing everything, because you can actually see it making some difference. As you can see here, if we just click on it now, cycle through all the options, we can actually see what changes are being made to the car. Quite why this doesn't work straight out of the back without choosing save as the option first, I've got no idea. But as soon as you've saved it, you can have a little look in the showroom as well. The cars do look really nice, I think, in this showroom section. Just looking over them, giving it a bit of a facelift. But I do think it's nice racing in your own liveries. Quite what's going on with the wheels, I've got no idea why they make that funny sort of glistening in the light. I'm not quite sure, but I do like how the cars look in the garage, the sort of matte effects and the glossy sort of paint look to the car. It does look pretty nice. But yeah, it was something I stumbled on straight away, and I think there is going to be a little bit more to come within this section. Whether you can actually start designing your own liveries rather than just choosing them, I'm not quite sure. But at this stage, I like to just pick the pad up as opposed to using my wheel, and you can look around the car, put the lights on, whatnot, change the angle of the car, open the doors, and all sorts of things within this menu. It really is quite detailed what they've gone into, especially inside the car. There's so much going on in there, and you can get right in there and have a good look. Maybe not all the way in the car, but you can position yourself to have a good look in and around the car. Quite detailed. I was very interested in that. But moving on to the main focus of this video, steering locks. And this was one from Outer Heaven that left this on my Facebook page. And this is an absolute godsend. I spent quite a bit of time looking into this as well after seeing those details, and found this link on Assetto's website. I think they've also got a video on YouTube, which I haven't looked at this stage, but all these driver steering wheel locks for each car. And obviously I've done my own testing, and I wouldn't be publishing this video without having done so. So with every single car within the game, I've gone into each car and tried every single one of them, and what a difference this makes. I've also made a handy PDF that is within the description of the video, so if you find that useful, please just smash that thumb button. Remember to hit that subscribe button as well. But one of the things that I've mentioned time and time again on Project Cars 2 and Assetto Corsa is spend some time in each one of these cars. It's amazing how one of these cars will really match your own particular driving style. And just spending a bit of time at the Hungaro ring here, just setting lap after lap in each one of these cars is a real eye-opener into how different each one of them handles and how some of the cars really do suit you. Surprisingly, I really enjoy driving the Ferrari, the Porsche, even the BMW feels really nice, the NSX, and I've got to be honest, the Lexus sounds absolutely amazing. Along with the Nissan GTR, I've thoroughly enjoyed spending the last couple of days, or the last day or so, hours and hours just driving these cars, changing a few things in the setups as I'm starting to learn more and more about how the setups work, how the traction control works. Obviously, if you've got TC1 and TC2, which settings to use the ABS, depending on whether the track's green or not, and especially the height of the car as well, raising and lowering the front and rear of the car has such a massive effect on its handling. But yeah, just really getting used to how these cars feel. Yes, I'm still using the force feedback as it is, and it's not as strong as I'd like it. But I think the more you spend within this game, the more you spend driving in this simulator, it really does start to feel a little bit better. Maybe we're on console, we've just not been used to how a simulator's going to feel. But as you can see, they're just making adjustments to the steering lock and also making the same adjustments on my Fanatec wheel as well. But yeah, every single car has a different steering lock, and you're going to need to use these to get the best out of the car's performance and get the best of the most from the force feedback.
Go, go, go.
So I know I've waffled on a heck of a lot in this video, but I just want to say a massive thank you to the community really that's spending some time within my YouTube page and on the Facebook pages as well, just trying to get across to other members of the community settings that they're using or things that are going to help them. Numerous people have mentioned using different wheel locks on my wheel, and I really did want to just use 420, but it's definitely not the way to go with this game. And definitely spend some time making sure you've got your firmware up to date. Numerous people saying that as soon as they'd updated the firmware, that this game just took on a whole different feel through the wheel. So definitely spend some time, make sure you've got your firmware up to date, especially the Thrustmaster wheels. Someone mentioned just yesterday how much the game felt just so different having done the firmware update. So yeah, that's steering locks. Like I said, look in the description for the PDF. Hopefully that'll be useful for when you're driving and choosing different vehicles. So just some following this up with just a few faults that I've found in the game really. And this was one earlier, just launching into a multiplayer race, just doing the quick join. And as soon as the game sort of joined, you might think, oh no, not another race at Silverstone, or I really can't be bothered with doing 20 minutes in a race, and then just choosing the quit option. Now I've done this 3 times in a row, and I think 3 times in a row is definitely classed as a fault. So just as soon as I've landed, I just thought, no, I've only got 3 minutes left, I might not be able to do that. I'm just going to choose the quit option. And from that point there, it just stays in this menu for a few seconds and then punts you back to the home page. And then just driving along here, I just had a random wheel disconnect, so it just goes mental, full throttle, and it just stays like that, and I can't do anything within the game. No buttons work at all. Only the home button works, just to quit the game and reload it again. And last but not least was the one that we sort of touched on earlier. I'm not sure why this needs to be so difficult or why it's not working straight from just choosing to add another vehicle. I think you should just be able to edit this straight away and be able to see the adjustments that you're making rather than choosing the save option and then coming back and editing it all over again. It's quite a long-winded way to be able to start editing the liveries. So something that certainly needs to be addressed rather than clicking the save button and going back and going forward again. And let's just go in. If you want to add another vehicle, add it, then edit it, and you should be able to make all those visual changes straight away rather than saving it first, then coming back to edit it. But yeah, that's the video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope the steering locks have been useful and a few other key points that I've raised during the video. If you still haven't yet smashed that subscribe button or left a comment, please do so. I try and get back to as many people as I can within the comments, and I'd just like to thank the community again for all the help they've given me over the past couple of days trying to get the best from this game. Thanks again, guys, and ciao for now.